Yep, Roper. Get up there this afternoon, I reckon.
If it doesn't rain.
I guess the preparation for a trip is half the excitement. And in this case, it's doubly important because this trip, I'm about to go right up the Carpentaria coastline and cut across over to Catherine. Now, my job takes me all over Northern Australia and I see a lot of the country. But I reckon this trip, this part, has got to be one of the most exciting trips you can do in Australia. Out here, you're on your own. You can drive for days without seeing anyone else. Believe it or not, I'm a major in the Australian Army, and I reckon I've got one of the best jobs in the place. Moving right across the top half of Australia, learning how to survive up here, and discovering some of the secrets of bush tucker. I guess I spend about 8 months a year chasing up bush tucker all over Northern Australia. And the idea is, of course, that the Department of Defence, and particularly the Army, have got an interest in this sort of thing. Because if ever we have soldiers out in the paddock, they may need to know it. I get the information by visiting Aboriginal people and Aboriginal communities. And they feed back that local information that I don't have. And in this sort of country, you need all the help you can get. This trip's going to take me right into the remote heart of Aboriginal territory, Arnhem land, crossing the Roper River, heading north to the Coolitong, and then out west to the Bullman Gorge. It's a real relief to arrive at the Roper River, a great place at the end of a long, dusty drive across from the Gulf. It's a perfect spot to take a break and knock up a bit of tucker. What I'm looking for here are the little freshwater mussels. You always find them tucked away underneath these reeds in running water like this. Having said that, you probably won't be able to find one. Yeah, there we go. There's one there. Oop, two. There you go. You can cook them up and boil them up and eat them. When you're poking around waterways like this, you've just got to be careful of crocodiles because they come sneaking up on you. I reckon the best trick is to get what you want and then clear out. The waterways up here are a terrific source of food. At different times of the year, there's barramundi and salmon and bream. There's also turtle and ducks and geese. So there's plenty to keep the crocs well fed. And a bit left over for me too. Put this pot in here a couple of hours ago. And what I'm looking for is a thing called K-Racks. And there they are. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. They're a little freshwater prawn or shrimp. Not bad tucker either. You get them all through these waterways right the way around Arnhem land. In fact, they're all over Northern Australia when you look at it. Those little fellas, you can boil them up. They're not real little either. You can boil them up. They make a good feed for breakfast. You put that back in there. All you got to do is bait it up with a dirty old bit of fish or something like that. And they crawl around the bottom, come into the net, and you got them. Just like a prawn, aren't they? Except they've got these 2 little blue feelers out the front. Check the other pots. This river has got a couple of real characteristics to it. Firstly, it's the southern border of Arnhem land, and secondly, it provides a top feed. Tremendous stuff. Really great. Most Australians don't get across the other side. They can't get into Arnhem land. It's a very remote and very special part of Australia. To get in there, you've got to have one of these permits. Like that. Once I cross over there, I'm leaving my civilization behind. Arnhem land is as close as you'll get to Aboriginal tradition. As recently as 50 years ago, these people lived entirely off this land. They had a balanced diet of hundreds of fruits, nuts and vegetables, as well as meat and fish. They don't rely on bush tucker anymore, but their botanical knowledge is still very detailed. And the way they gather their food can often be totally unexpected.
Cut him this part. Wait there, buddy. You're big now.
Bring up that up too, eh? What's happening here is we've collected all this bark here off a particular tree. It's called the emu apple tree. The bark contains a saponin. In other words, it's a bit like soap. And if you pound it up and release that sap and then drag it through the water, a billabong, it stuns all the fish in the billabong. You can collect them up and then cook them up and eat them. They call it the fish poison, but it's not really a poison because what it does is pollute the water, cuts down the oxygen content within the water, and the fish, because they can't breathe anymore, become unconscious and float belly up on the surface. Did you? Did you? No. Rubbish. Getting bush tucker is never easy. It's hard and dedicated work. But it's also efficient. And it's got to be. It's one of the first things I learnt from Aboriginals. When you're trying to survive, it's critical to use your time and your energy in the most effective way. I could muck around all day here with a hook and a line and go home hungry. This way, you can be sure of a decent feed. Once the bark's been pounded up, the best part of the job is spreading it round the waterhole. So in the midday heat, you can cool off for half an hour or so and just wait for the results.
Wonder.
There you go. That's fishing Arnhem style.
Aboriginal people have taught me a lot. They've been pretty generous with their knowledge, and I'm grateful for that. Because I can now see the bush and its full potential in a very different way. There are so many little things that can add up to survival.
You know, it's really amazing that no matter where you find yourself out in the bush, you can always find something that'll help you survive. That's tremendous. Those leaves, those flowers there, they're loaded with pollen. When you dunk them in your brew, they sweeten it up for you. In fact, they're off the melaleuca, the paper bark. And the bark off that tree can help you to start your fire, the tinder it is. And if you're out of tea, well, you can get the leaves themselves, crush them up, boil them up, and they're a bit of a tea substitute. Not much of one, but still they'll do the job. That's where it got its common name from in the first place, tea tree. There was a bloke came through here years ago, Leichhardt, travelled further up the creek that way, and went right through up into Port Essendon. And he used the countryside all the way along his journey, little tricks like this, and got him all the way through up there. Trouble is, a few years later he went out in the desert country and no one's seen him ever since.
Even today, for most Australians, this can still seem like a hostile place. From here on, I'm on my own on this trip, and travelling through this country is a challenge at the best of times. Dirt roads turn into tracks, and many of them don't appear on the maps. So one false turn can land you in trouble. You certainly wouldn't want to break down out here. I'm now a day's drive into Arnhem and heading northeast to the coast, to a place called Waygiver.